December 23rd, 1944. Camp Papago Park, Arizona. Rain taps the barracks roof like fingers on a drum, soft enough to hide a shovel's bite. In the dark yard, 25 shadows move without speaking, boots sinking into wet grit. One by one, they slip under a blanket and vanish into the ground. If you've ever wondered what courage looks like when it fails, stay with this one. Because the shock isn't that they escaped. The shock is what waited for them outside the wire. And how, in a few silent hours, the desert proved stronger than any guard tower. The camp sits near Phoenix like an afterthought of war, fenced and watchful, surrounded by empty distance. By 1944, America holds hundreds of thousands of Axis prisoners across the country. They are scattered through forests, plains, bayous, and deserts. The war overseas keeps burning, but here it is contained behind wire and routine. Papago Park is built for heat, not for hatred. The guards are older men, or men assigned away from the front. The towers are real, but the mood is often calm. The camp holds Germans from different branches, but the most dangerous are sailors, not ordinary deckhands, men who fought in steel tubes beneath the Atlantic. In 1944, the Battle of the Atlantic has already turned. Allied shipyards pour out cargo vessels like a flood. Convoys cross with escorts and aircraft overhead. Germany once hunted freely, but now every periscope risks death. For every German submarine launched, Allied industry seems to answer with 10 new ships, 10 new patrol planes, and a wider net. The U-boat men know this in their bones. They felt it in the water. They heard it in the propeller noise above them. They watched the sea change from hunting ground to graveyard. Among them is the camp's brightest flame. A commander with a name that carries weight in the barracks. Not just an officer, but a symbol. A man who still walks as if the Reich is winning. His posture does not bend. His eyes do not apologize. A young sailor watches him closely. He is not famous. He is not loud. He is simply a man who wants to live with meaning. In the camp he is called Günther, one face among many. But his mind keeps returning to one thought. If the war has turned, then what is left for them? To wait, to be forgotten, to go home to rubble. The commander offers a different answer. Escape is not only movement. Escape is proof. The idea forms slowly, like pressure behind a bulkhead. At first it is talk in low voices, a story to pass time. Then it becomes measurements, a count of steps from barracks to fence, a study of guard patterns, a careful inventory of tools that can be borrowed, stolen, or made. Before we dive deeper, take a second to support the channel. Tap like if you enjoy story-driven WW2 history, subscribe for weekly documentaries, and share where you're watching from today. I read the comments, and I build these stories with you. The desert is hard, and the camp soil is stubborn. But a tunnel does not require softness. It requires patience. It requires men who can live on routine and follow orders without seeing the horizon. That is what submariners are trained for. They know how to work in confined spaces. They know how to breathe through fear. Inside the barracks, the plan grows teeth. A tunnel will begin beneath the floor, hidden where boots and bunks cover evidence. It will run long enough to break the camp boundary. It must be straight enough to avoid collapse and deep enough to avoid detection. Every shovelful of earth must disappear. That is the first battle. Dirt. They cannot dump it outside in piles. They cannot track it on their boots. They cannot stain the yard with fresh soil that doesn't match the surface. So they become artists of concealment. They pack earth into socks. They hide it in bed frames. They scatter it in garden plots and along paths where dust already lives. They work in shifts, because the tunnel cannot be dug like a normal hole. It has to be carved like a vein in rock. Each man spends time below, lying on his stomach, pushing forward inches at a time. The air grows thin. The ceiling presses close. The smell is wet clay and sweat and breath. The commander visits the work like an inspector aboard ship. He speaks in quiet certainty. He does not promise safety. He promises direction. The men respond to that more than comfort. In a prison, direction is a kind of freedom. Gunther learns the rhythm. Crawl forward, scrape soil, push it back, smooth the walls, listen for footsteps above, freeze when the boards creak, then continue. Hours become days, days become weeks. Outside, American life continues with strange normalcy. The camp receives mail. Some prisoners work details in the area. They see the distant city lights and the wide roads. They see supermarkets with food stacked high. They see gas stations where cars come and go like the war is far away. It is not just abundance that stuns them. It is scale. America can afford to feed enemies while sending armies across oceans. America can build tanks and bombers and still have enough steel for fences. For a German sailor raised on rationing and propaganda, this is a different kind of weapon. Not a gun, a system. Yet the commander refuses to let awe become surrender. He speaks of Mexico like it is a doorway. He speaks of the desert rivers like they are routes. He speaks as if the war map still bends to will. A map appears. Not a perfect one, but convincing enough. Lines and names. A blue thread marked as water. A direction south. A promise that the salt river will carry them toward freedom, toward the border, toward disappearance. They prepare more than a tunnel. They prepare identities. Civilian clothing appears in pieces. A hat here, a shirt there. Some items are traded for cigarettes. Others are altered and mended to look like they belong in America. Papers are forged with careful handwriting and stamps copied from memory. The commander insists on discipline. No drinking, no loose talk, no swagger. He knows that escape is not won by speed alone. It is won by silence. But even perfect silence cannot erase the body's needs. Hunger makes people careless. Fear makes people loud. And the camp is full of men dreaming of home, men who might betray a plan just to feel important. So the circle is kept tight. 25 men, chosen for endurance and obedience. Men who can walk far, carry weight, and keep their heads down. Men who will not break in the first cold night outside. The tunnel nears completion. The air inside grows heavier as it stretches longer. The walls sweat when rain comes. Some nights the ground above turns damp, and the men below fear collapse. They brace sections with scavenged wood. They reinforce weak points with boards taken from crates. The commander sets the date. Late December. Holidays. A time when attention drifts, when routines soften, when guards think of home. Then the sky offers a gift, a rainstorm. In Arizona, rain is rare enough to feel like a curtain. It changes the sound of everything. The yard becomes a different stage. Boots squish. Wind carries the smell of wet dust. The towers look outward, but see only shadows and rain. The commander gives the signal. The first man disappears beneath the barracks floor. Then another, then another. Each carries what he can. A bundle of clothes, food wrapped tight, a small tool, a map folded and guarded like scripture, a hope that is heavier than any pack. Gunther goes in the middle of the line, not first, not last. He feels the boards close above him. He drops into darkness, and the tunnel swallows him like a throat. The tunnel is narrow, elbows scrape, knees bruise. The ceiling kisses the back of his neck. He can smell the man ahead of him. He can feel the panic of his own breath. But he keeps moving because stopping means suffocation. The earth is cold and wet. The tunnel floor is slick with mud. Somewhere behind him, a man coughs, and the sound is loud as a gunshot. For a moment, everyone freezes. The tunnel holds. Above them, the rain keeps falling, steady and forgiving. They crawl on. The distance feels endless. 100 feet is a lifetime when you are dragging your body through dirt. 178 feet becomes a war of inches. Gunther counts breaths the way sailors count waves. He tells himself that he has endured depth charges. He has endured sinking fear. This is only earth. Finally, the tunnel rises slightly. A faint change in temperature, a hint of air that tastes different. The man ahead pauses. Hands push upward. Soil breaks. A small hole opens to the outside world. The first face emerges into night rain, blinking like a newborn. Gunther follows. He pushes through, and the desert air hits him with a shock. Not freedom yet, But outside, no fence in his immediate vision, no barracks walls, no wire cutting the horizon. Just darkness, wet brush, and the wide-open smell of distance. For a few seconds his heart forgets fear. It only knows relief. They regroup quickly. The commander's silhouette is steady, even in rain. He counts heads in a whisper. 25, all present. The tunnel mouth is disguised again. The ground is smoothed. In the rain, footprints soften fast. Then they move. Not toward Mexico immediately, not yet. First they must retrieve what they hid, their raft. The raft is a strange dream made physical, a collapsible wooden frame, built in secret, designed to float on a river that exists on paper. It is heavy. It is awkward. It is proof that the plan was meant to be more than running. They drag it across wet ground like a wounded animal. The men strain, their shoes slipping in mud. Rain soaks their clothes and chills their skin. They keep moving because stopping invites discovery. The camp behind them remains quiet. The towers still stare into rain. The fence still waits for movement that does not come. The desert opens wider with every step. The city lights of Phoenix glow faintly, a distant amber haze. Beyond that haze lies emptiness, a dark plain of scrub and rock and dry channels. The kind of land that does not care about human plans. They walk for hours, following the map's promise. The commander keeps them on course with calm gestures. He does not show doubt. In the darkness, confidence is contagious. Gunther's hands ache from hauling, his shoulders burn, his fingers go numb in the cold rain. He thinks of the Atlantic, how cold it was in winter, how the boat would sweat with condensation. This is different. This is open, exposed. The sky presses down with stars hidden by cloud. Still, he believes. Near dawn, the rain begins to thin. The storm that sheltered them starts to drift away. The air grows drier with every minute, as if the desert is reclaiming its normal breath. They reach the marked line on the map. The Salt River. In their minds, it is water. It is movement. It is the gentle force that will carry them away from pursuit. They imagine slipping into current, bodies low, heads hidden, floating toward the border like ghosts. Instead, they find silence, a wide channel of stone and dust, a riverbed cracked like old skin, scattered rocks, dry sand, not a shimmer of water anywhere. The men stop as if struck. The raft sits on the ground, ridiculous in the morning light. Wooden slats wet from rain, built for a purpose that does not exist. The map is technically right. The river is there. The channel is real. But the water is gone. Gunther stares at the empty bed, and something inside him drops. Not just hope. Trust. The commander studies the ground, still quiet. His jaw tightens. For the first time, his posture shifts. The plan has collided with geography, not with guns or dogs or searchlights, with the simple truth of the American West. The desert has no obligation to cooperate. They argue in whispers. Some want to follow the dry channel anyway, convinced water must appear farther on. Others argue for the city, for stealing a vehicle. That idea carries its own sentence. A group of foreign men with accents and ragged clothes does not disappear inside a city, not in wartime America. The commander tries to hold them together. He speaks of alternate routes, of canals and irrigation systems, of reservoirs remembered from maps. His words remain precise, but the strain beneath them is now impossible to miss. The sun rises fully. Warmth returns with speed and cruelty. Wet clothes dry, leaving salt on skin. The air brightens until it feels hostile. In daylight, they are no longer shadows. They are visible. They are exposed. Supplies are thin. A few days of food at best. Water matters more than bread, and water is the one thing the desert refuses to offer freely. They move again without certainty. The raft becomes a burden. Carrying it drains strength. Leaving it feels like abandoning the plan itself. They drag it longer than they should, hoping for a stream, a canal, anything. Hours stretch. Mesquite bushes tear at their legs, rocks roll underfoot, tongues swell. The sun climbs higher, pressing heat into skulls until thought itself feels heavy. Günther watches discipline unravel in small ways. A man drops out of formation to sit. Another snaps at a friend. Someone laughs once, short and bitter, then stops. The commander pushes them onward, but authority cannot create water. The irony is sharp. These men survived torpedoes and depth charges. They fought in oceans where death came from above and below. Now they are being undone by absence, by dryness, by the simple fact that a river can exist and still be empty. Late in the day, they find a trickle in a ditch. Not enough for all, but enough to make men stare too hard. They drink carefully, knowing excess will sicken them. The taste is metallic. Still, it is life. Some begin to think of surrender as strategy rather than shame. The camp, for all its wire, has food and water. It has routine. It has survival. Freedom out here is vast and indifferent, a place that kills quietly. Night returns. The temperature drops sharply. The desert is cruel in both directions. They huddle beneath brush, shivering in clothes meant for ships and rain. Stars hang hard and sharp above them. Every sound carries. A distant engine becomes a threat. A barking dog becomes a sentence. Günther thinks of the tunnel, the damp earth, the narrow darkness. It felt like a coffin, yet it delivered them to this, an openness that suffocates because there is nowhere to hide. The commander sits apart, staring into distance. In the camp, he was a lighthouse. Out here, light cannot change the shoreline. By morning, the group is smaller. One man left in the night, choosing his own direction. Another cannot continue. A decision is made that would have been unthinkable weeks earlier. They split. Small groups can hide, blend, beg. A large group is a moving signal. Günther stays with the commander's core. Loyalty is habit, and habit is hard to break. They move along back roads, avoiding houses and farms. When cars approach, they step into brush and hold their breath as Americans pass without noticing them. Each mile takes more than the last. Blisters open, lips split, necks burn. The desert keeps demanding payment. Behind them, the camp has discovered the escape. A count is done, an alarm raised, trucks roll out. The desert is wide, but wide places still have roads, and roads create patterns. The Americans have radios, vehicles, and local knowledge. The commander offers one last bold idea. Find a canal running south. Arizona is stitched with water systems cut by human hands. A canal means farms. Farms mean food. Food means time. Perhaps concealment. Perhaps a vehicle. It is not impossible. It is simply thin. Late in the day, they reach one. Not a river, but water moving with purpose. The sight hits them like music. They kneel and drink. Careful, desperate. The water is cold and sweet compared to the ditch. For a moment, hope returns. The commander straightens. The men whisper plans again, counting distances, imagining movement. Then reality arrives in another form. Canals attract people. Maintenance paths, workers, houses just beyond the trees. A canal is a line of life, and life watches. A truck appears. It slows. The driver looks. The men freeze, and freezing becomes confession. The truck stops, turns around. Minutes later, engines approach from multiple directions. The commander understands without panic, almost gently. The plan is over. Not because they were careless, because they were out-resourced, because a continent is not an ocean, because daylight exposes everything. Some men run anyway. Instinct overrules logic. They scatter across brush and sand. It does not last. Günther is caught near a stand of low trees, lungs tearing. A guard points a rifle and orders him still. No violence, just exhaustion. The guard's face is tired, not angry. He wants it finished. Günther raises his hands. Others are found in the following days. Some surrender at farms, trading pride for water. Some walk openly along roads, too tired to hide. One or two make it farther, but deserts and state lines do not bend easily. The tunnel becomes a story. The raft becomes a symbol, not of foolishness, but of imagination built on faulty assumptions. At Camp Papago Park, the barracks floor is torn open. The tunnel lies exposed like a wound. Guards walk its length in disbelief, touching packed earth, recognizing the discipline it required. They do not mock it. Even enemies recognize skill. The commander returns to his compound. His authority changes. Some admire him. Others blame him. Most simply feel the weight of realizing the world beyond the fence was never designed for them. Gunther returns to his bunk with hands that still smell faintly of earth. He lies beneath the same roof he escaped, the irony sharp. The tunnel, the rain, the crawling, the cold marches, all of it ends where it began. Yet he is not unchanged, because the desert taught him something war never did. In war, defeat arrives loud and sudden. Here, it arrived as emptiness, as a dry riverbed, as absence no courage could fill. Weeks pass. The camp settles. Towns decorate for holidays. Europe moves toward the war's end. The escape becomes a local tale, told with amazement at the tunnel and uneasy humor about the boat in the sand. For the men who walked it, humor is not the lasting feeling. Scale is. They tasted the breadth of America and felt distance as a physical force. They learned that borders are not just lines, but landscapes and systems that respond without panic. A tunnel could defeat a fence. It could not defeat a continent. In the end, the desert did what guards could not. It forced them to face the limits of their plan and their bodies. It offered no enemy to fight, no target to blame, only distance, heat, and silence. They escaped the camp. They did not escape where they were, and that is the cruelest kind of captivity.